Are you cool?
I'm cool. She needs to chill.
I'm cool. Good. Marta, can you please hurry up?
Tia Mowry and Pooch Hall, who played Derwin and Melanie, leaving the show for good after 5 seasons.
You know, the game was so popular, I think.
And for whatever reason, it didn't work out for me. So I had to keep it moving.
Right. You're watching your favorite TV show on a regular Tuesday night, and suddenly something happens on screen that makes your jaw drop. You can't believe what you just saw. Within hours, angry phone calls are flooding the network. Social media is going crazy. And by the end of the week, your beloved show is gone forever. This is exactly what happened to The Game, one of the most popular shows on television. And today we're going to dive deep into the shocking story of how one controversial scene destroyed everything. If you've never heard of The Game, let me tell you why this story is so heartbreaking for millions of fans. This wasn't just any ordinary TV show. It was a cultural phenomenon that changed the way we looked at sports, relationships, and black culture on television. For years, it brought families together every week, gave us characters we loved like our own friends, and tackled real issues that other shows were too scared to touch. But then, in one shocking moment, it all came crashing down. Before we get into the drama that tore everything apart, let's go back to the beginning and understand why The Game was so special in the first place. The show first appeared on our screens in October 2006, and it was unlike anything we had seen before. Created by Mara Brock Akil, who also gave us the hit show Girlfriends, The Game was actually a spin-off that decided to focus on something completely different but equally fascinating. Instead of just following a group of female friends, The Game took us into the glamorous but complicated world of professional football. But here's what made it brilliant. It didn't focus on the players throwing touchdowns or making million-dollar plays. Instead, it showed us what happened off the field, in the homes and hearts of the women who loved these famous athletes. It was about the wives, girlfriends, mothers, and agents who lived in the shadow of fame but had their own dreams, struggles, and stories to tell. The show introduced us to unforgettable characters who felt like real people with real problems. There was Melanie Barnett, played by Tia Mowry, a smart medical student who made the huge decision to put her own dreams on hold to support her boyfriend's football career. Can you imagine giving up everything you worked for just to help someone else succeed? That's exactly what Melanie did, and her journey showed us how love sometimes makes us make sacrifices that change our entire lives. Then there was Derwin Davis, played by Pooch Hall, Melanie's boyfriend who was just starting his career as a professional football player for the San Diego Sabres. Derwin was trying to figure out how to be a good boyfriend while also dealing with the crazy pressure of professional sports. Every week, we watched him struggle between doing what was right for his relationship and doing what his coaches, teammates, and fans expected from him. One of the most powerful characters was Tasha Mack, brought to life by Wendy Raquel Robinson. Tasha was the ultimate protective mother and a fierce sports agent who would do absolutely anything to protect her son Malik's career. She was tough, she spoke her mind, and she never backed down from a fight. Malik Wright, played by Hosea Chanchez, was the star, quarterback of the team, but he was also dealing with his own personal demons and trying to live up to everyone's expectations while staying true to himself. What made The Game so addictive was how these characters' lives were all tangled together. Their relationships were complicated, messy, and real. They fought, they made up, they betrayed each other, and they had each other's backs when it really mattered. The show perfectly balanced funny moments that made us laugh out loud with serious dramatic scenes that sometimes made us cry. But The Game was more than just entertainment. It was groundbreaking because it showed the lives of successful black families and individuals in a way that television had never done before. While other shows might have focused on stereotypes or problems, The Game showed black characters who were wealthy, successful, complex, and dealing with the same kinds of relationship issues that everyone faces, regardless of their race or income. The show quickly gained a huge following. Fans couldn't wait for each new episode, and they talked about the characters like they were real people in their lives. Social media wasn't as big back then as it is now, but people found ways to connect online and discuss every plot twist, every romantic development, and every dramatic moment. The show became a part of people's weekly routines, something they looked forward to and planned their schedules around. For 3 seasons, The Game was a massive success on the CW network. It brought in great ratings, earned critical praise, and built a loyal fan base that seemed to grow stronger every week. The actors became household names, and the show won awards and recognition from industry professionals who understood that this was something special. But then, something devastating happened. In 2009, after 3 incredible seasons, the CW suddenly canceled The Game. Fans were absolutely shocked and heartbroken. How could a network cancel such a popular and successful show? The decision didn't make sense to viewers who had invested years of their lives following these characters and their stories. The cancellation felt like a betrayal to the millions of people who had supported the show from the beginning. They had watched faithfully, they had told their friends about it, and they had made it a part of their lives. Now, suddenly, it was gone, and they didn't even get a proper ending or closure for the characters they had grown to love. But here's where the story gets amazing. The fans refused to give up. Even though the show was off the air, they kept talking about it, sharing episodes with friends, and demanding that someone bring it back. They used early social media platforms to organize campaigns, created hashtags before hashtags were really a thing, and showed the entertainment industry just how powerful passionate fans could be. Their efforts paid off in a big way. In 2011, BET decided to take a chance and bring The Game back from the dead. The revival was absolutely incredible. The first episode of the new season brought in over 7.7 million viewers, making it the most watched scripted premiere in BET's entire history up to that point. It was proof that sometimes, when fans really love something, they have the power to make miracles happen. The show's return to BET gave it new life and introduced it to even more viewers who had missed it the first time around. The characters we loved were back, and their stories continued to evolve and grow. For several more seasons, The Game thrived on its new network, tackling even more complex issues and developing its characters in deeper, more meaningful ways. The show continued to break ground by addressing topics that other series wouldn't touch. It talked about mental health, the pressure of fame, racial identity, family loyalty, and the complex dynamics of modern relationships. It showed how success and money don't solve all problems, and how even people who seem to have everything can struggle with personal issues that money can't fix. Throughout its run on BET, The Game maintained its perfect balance of comedy and drama. One minute, you'd be laughing at Tasha's latest outrageous scheme or Malik's funny one-liners, and the next minute, you'd be reaching for tissues because of an emotional scene about family, loss, or personal growth. This emotional range is what kept viewers coming back week after week, never knowing whether they'd end an episode laughing or crying. The show also continued to showcase the talents of its incredible cast. Each actor brought something special to their role, and over the years, we watched them grow not just as characters, but as performers. They tackled challenging storylines with skill and authenticity, making even the most dramatic plot twists feel believable and emotionally honest. But as successful as the show was on BET, trouble was brewing behind the scenes. As we moved into the later seasons, there were signs that not everything was as perfect as it appeared on screen. Cast members began to leave the show, creative differences started to emerge, and the tight-knit family feeling that had made the show so special began to rack. By the 3rd season on BET, which was actually the 6th season overall, things were getting tense. The show was still popular with viewers, but there were rumors of conflicts between cast members, disagreements about the direction of the storylines, and pressure from the network to push boundaries and create more shocking moments to keep viewers interested. This is where our story takes a dark turn. The writers and producers, perhaps feeling pressure to stay relevant in an increasingly competitive television landscape, decided to push the envelope further than they ever had before. They began incorporating storylines and scenes that were much more provocative and controversial than anything the show had featured in its earlier seasons. The decision to include more adult content wasn't necessarily wrong from an artistic standpoint. Many successful shows have dealt with mature themes, and The Game had always been aimed at adult audiences rather than children. However, the way these new elements were introduced felt jarring to longtime fans who had fallen in love with the show's original tone and style. As the season progressed, several episodes featured content that made viewers uncomfortable. There were storylines about secret relationships, betrayal, addiction, and other serious topics, but they were presented in a much more graphic and explicit way than the show had ever used before. Instead of handling these sensitive subjects with the nuance and care that had made the earlier seasons so powerful, the new approach felt sensationalized and shocking just for the sake of being shocking. The most controversial moment came in an episode that aired during the middle of the season. Without going into graphic detail, the scene in question featured content that many viewers felt crossed the line from mature television into territory that was inappropriate for the show's format and audience. The scene was explicit, shocking, and completely different from anything The Game had ever shown before. The reaction was immediate and intense. As soon as the episode aired, phones at the CW began ringing with angry complaints from viewers who couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. Social media, which had grown much more influential by this time, exploded with reactions ranging from shock and disappointment to outright anger and disgust. Many longtime fans felt betrayed. This wasn't the show they had fought to bring back from cancellation. This wasn't the series that had meant so much to them and had brought their families together every week. The characters they loved seemed to be acting in ways that didn't make sense, and the storylines felt forced and unnatural. The controversy wasn't just about the explicit content itself, though that was certainly part of it. Many fans were upset because they felt like the show had abandoned everything that made it special in the first place. The careful balance between comedy and drama was gone. The authentic, relatable characters had been replaced by people doing shocking things just to create headlines. The meaningful discussions about real issues had been replaced by sensationalism. Critics were divided in their reactions. Some defended the show's right to evolve and explore more mature themes, arguing that television should be allowed to push boundaries and address difficult top stories. Honestly, they pointed out that other successful shows had included similar content and had been praised for their boldness and authenticity. However, other critics agreed with the upset fans, arguing that The Game had lost its way and was using shock value as a substitute for good storytelling. They felt that the controversial content was unnecessary and detracted from the show's ability to tell meaningful stories about its characters and their relationships. The network found itself in an impossible situation. On one hand, they had a show that was still bringing in decent ratings and had a passionate fan base. On the other hand, they were dealing with a public relations nightmare, angry advertisers who were threatening to pull their support, and internal pressure to maintain their brand image. But the controversial scene wasn't the only problem The Game was facing at this time. Behind the scenes, there were reports of ongoing tensions between cast members, disagreements about the creative direction of the show, and struggles with budget constraints that were affecting the quality of production. Some of the original cast members were becoming increasingly unhappy with the direction the show was taking. They had signed on to be part of a series that celebrated Black success and explored complex relationships with intelligence and heart. Now they found themselves in storylines that they felt didn't represent their characters. There were also rumors of conflicts between the actors' original mission, though most of these were never officially confirmed. The tight-knit cast that had once felt like a real family was reportedly experiencing tension and disagreements that were affecting the atmosphere on set and the quality of their performances. At the same time, the show's ratings were beginning to decline. While the controversial episodes certainly generated attention and got people talking, they weren't necessarily bringing in more viewers. In fact, some longtime fans were starting to tune out, feeling alienated by the show's new direction and disappointed by the changes to characters they had loved for years. The combination of all these factors created a perfect storm that ultimately led to the show's downfall. The network executives, faced with declining ratings, ongoing controversies, and reported behind-the-scenes drama, made the difficult decision to cancel the game once again. The announcement of the cancellation sent shockwaves through the fan base. After fighting so hard to bring the show back and supporting it through its revival, fans couldn't believe they were losing it again. Many felt that the controversial content had ruined something beautiful and special, taking away a show that had meant so much to so many people. The impact of the cancellation was felt far beyond just the loss of a television show. The game had been one of the few series on television that featured successful black characters in complex, well-developed roles. It had provided representation that was rare in the entertainment industry, and had given viewers characters who looked like them and dealt with issues they could relate to. For the cast members, the cancellation was devastating in different ways. Some had built their entire careers around the show and were suddenly faced with uncertain futures. Others were relieved to move on from what had become a difficult and stressful work environment. All of them had to figure out how to move forward after being part of something that had been such a significant part of their lives. The aftermath of the game's cancellation showed just how much the show had meant to its viewers. Fans continued to discuss it online, share their favorite episodes, and express their disappointment about how everything had ended. Many felt that the show's legacy had been tarnished by its controversial final season and that the characters they had loved deserved a better ending. Looking back, it's clear that the game was a victim of multiple factors that all came together at the worst possible time. The pressure to stay relevant in a competitive television landscape, behind-the-scenes tensions, declining ratings, and the controversial content all contributed to its downfall. The infamous scene that shocked viewers was just the most visible symbol of a show that had lost its way. The story of The Game serves as a cautionary tale about how even the most successful and beloved shows can self-destruct when they lose sight of what made them special in the first place. It shows how important it is for television series to stay true to their core values and characters, even when facing pressure to change and evolve. Despite its controversial ending, The Game left a lasting impact on television and popular culture. It proved that there was an audience hungry for diverse, complex storytelling featuring black characters in leading roles. It showed the power of passionate fans to bring back canceled shows and influence network decisions. And it demonstrated how social media could be used to organize support for entertainment that might otherwise be overlooked. The cast members of The Game have all moved on to different projects and continue to work in the entertainment industry. Some have found great success in new roles, while others have struggled to recapture the magic they had as part of the ensemble cast. All of them carry the experience of being part of something that was both incredibly successful and ultimately tragic. The legacy of The Game is complicated, but ultimately important. It was a groundbreaking show that opened doors for other series featuring diverse casts and complex storylines. It proved that there was an audience for this type of content and paved the way for other successful shows that might not have existed without its influence. But it also serves as a reminder of how quickly success can turn into failure when the wrong decisions are made. The controversial scene that ultimately contributed to the show's cancellation will forever be remembered as a turning point that changed everything, showing how one moment can undo years of hard work and success. Today, The Game has found new life on streaming platforms, where new generations of viewers are discovering it for the first time. Many of these new fans are able to appreciate the show's early seasons without the disappointment of experiencing its controversial end in real time. They can see what made the series so special and understand why fans fought so hard to bring it back. The story of The Game, and its infamous scene is ultimately a story about the power of television to bring people together and the heartbreak that comes when something you love is taken away. It's about the importance of staying true to your values and the dangers of sacrificing authenticity for shock value. Most importantly, it's about a show that, despite its flaws and controversial ending, gave us characters we loved and stories that mattered. So there you have it, the complete story of how one controversial scene destroyed one of television's most beloved shows. The Game went from being a cultural phenomenon that brought families together to a cautionary tale about the dangers of losing sight of what makes something special. The infamous scene that took it off the air will forever be remembered as a turning point in television history, a moment when everything changed and nothing was ever the same again. If this story shocked you as much as it shocked me, make sure you hit that like button to let me know what you think. Share this video with anyone who remembers watching The Game or who loves hearing about the crazy behind-the-scenes drama that happens in Hollywood. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss another deep dive into the stories behind your favorite shows. Trust me, there are so many more shocking tales from the world of television that you're going to want to hear. Until next time, keep watching and keep wondering about the stories behind the stories we all love.